Hello and welcome to Perfect PH. This is where we help you get your finances in shape. Today, we're diving into something that is frankly a bit terrifying. How the government can legally take your hard-earned money right out of your bank account, sometimes without you even knowing. It sounds like a nightmare, right? So let's get straight into how it happens, and more importantly, how you can protect yourself. Okay, I want you to imagine this for a second. You wake up, you grab your phone to check your bank balance, and you see a big fat zero. All your money, gone. You frantically call the bank and they tell you your account has been frozen. Not by a hacker, not by some mistake, but by the Bureau of Internal Revenue, the BIR. Now this isn't just some scary story. This is a real power the BIR has, and believe me, it happens. So the big question is, how? How can they just do that? Well, let's pull back the curtain on the powerful tool they use. It's called a warrant of garnishment. It sounds complicated, but it's actually pretty simple. It's a legal order that the BIR sends straight to your bank. And it basically says, freeze this person's money and give it to us to pay off a tax debt. It is one of the most direct and powerful collection methods they have in their entire arsenal. Now, when you're on the receiving end of this, it can feel absolutely unstoppable, like you have no options. And, there's a reason it feels that way. It's backed by a very powerful legal idea. You hear this all the time in law. Taxes are the lifeblood of the nation. And what that really means is that the government needs taxes to function, to build roads, run hospitals, all of that. So, because taxes are so essential, the law gives the government extraordinary powers to collect them. And here is the part that really shocks people. The BIR does not need to go to court and get a judge's permission to issue a warrant of garnishment. Nope, they can do it all by themselves. This is an administrative power, which means it's fast, direct, and, for you, the taxpayer, it can feel like it came out of absolutely nowhere. So, of course, you're probably thinking, okay, is this power completely unstoppable? Is there anything I can do? It's so easy to feel totally helpless and think, Naku, what if this happens to me? Am I just defenseless against this giant agency? Well, teka muna. Hold on a second. Because while the BIR's power is huge, it is not, I repeat, not absolute. The government itself has laid out a strict set of rules, and the BIR is required to follow them to the letter before they can touch a single centavo of your money. And this brings us to your ultimate protection. It's your constitutional shield. It's a term you've probably heard before, but you might not have realized just how crucial it is for protecting your wallet. We are talking about due process. So what is due process? In plain English, it's your right to fair play. The Constitution guarantees that the government has to properly notify you of any problem and, this is the important part, give you a real chance to defend yourself before they can take your property, your hard-earned para. It's your fundamental right to be heard. So how does this right to be heard actually work? Well, the BIR can't just skip straight to freezing your account. They have to follow a very specific step-by-step process. See, it starts with a simple notice of discrepancy. If things aren't cleared up, it moves to a preliminary assessment, then a final assessment, and at every single stage, you have the right to respond. Only after all of that, after they issue a final decision, can they even think about that last step, the warrant of garnishment. The key phrase here is final and executory. An assessment only becomes final and executory after you've used up all your chances to protest and appeal, or if you miss the deadline to do it. The point is, the warrant is supposed to be the absolute last resort, not the opening move. So this whole process is your protection. But what happens when the BIR makes a mistake? Well, it's in those mistakes, what lawyers call fatal errors, that your rights get violated. But it's also where you find your power to fight back and win. Let's just compare it side by side. The right way? The BIR follows every step. And, this is crucial, they have proof that you actually received every notice. The fatal mistake? They skip a step, or, and this happens a lot, they can't prove you ever got the notice. Just saying they mailed it isn't good enough. So let's look at some of these common fatal errors. The examiner doesn't have a valid letter of authority? The whole thing is void. The notice came back, returned to sender? That proves you weren't notified. They send you a copy-paste decision that totally ignores all your arguments? That's a violation of your right to be heard. And issuing a warrant while your valid protest is still being decided? That is a huge, illegal overreach. And hey, don't just take my word for it. The Philippine Supreme Court itself has said it loud and clear.
They've stated that the lifeblood doctrine is not a blank check for the BIR to just steamroll a taxpayer's right to due process.
This is the key takeaway, right here. The courts consistently rule in favor of the taxpayer when the BIR fails to follow its own rules. The government's power has limits, and your karapatan, your rights, they absolutely matter.
Okay, so knowing you have rights is one thing, but knowing what to actually do is something else entirely. So let's map out your winning game plan, your do's and don'ts, so you're ready for anything.
First up, the do's. The absolute most important thing you can do is call a tax abogado, a lawyer, immediately. Don't go it alone. Your lawyer will know exactly how to challenge the assessment based on these procedural errors, and your job is to help them gather any and all evidence that you didn't receive the notices. Finally, you have to file your appeal to the Court of Tax Appeals on time.
And now for the don'ts. These are just as important. Do not ignore the order, because the bank won't. Do not just assume the BIR will magically fix its own mistake. You have to force them to. Do not try to negotiate with the field officers after your account is frozen. At that point, it's a legal matter. And please, whatever you do, do not miss that appeal deadline.
I want you to burn this number into your brain: 30. From the moment you get that final decision, a timer starts. You have exactly 30 days to file your appeal with the Court of Tax Appeals. Not 31, not around a month, 30 days. Miss it, and you could lose your entire case.
And I'm not exaggerating. This deadline is what's called jurisdictional. That means if you're late by even one day, the court literally loses the power to hear your case. There was a real Supreme Court case, it's called Sanyo Siki, where the taxpayer had a great case, but they filed their appeal one day late, and they lost everything. That's how absolute this deadline is.
So let's end with this thought. The BIR has incredible power, yes, but that power is wrapped in rules that are designed to protect you. And the most powerful tool you have to make sure they follow those rules is knowledge. Knowing your rights isn't just power. In this situation, it is the shield that protects your savings and your future.
I really hope this explainer was helpful. For more practical tips to get your finances in great shape, please make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow ParaFitPH on Facebook. If you got something out of this, a like and a share would be amazing. And if you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching.